Hi, my name's Tayler Biehn, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about the process I went through for designing my robot. So, for starters, my original plan was to 3D print the base that it was going to sit on, but after my 3D printer went down as soon as I had the CAD files ready, I had to change things up a bit. So, I switched to using a wooden base and I had it set low to the ground for the sensor, which this would end up saving me. I originally had the sensor set up at the front of the robot, right on the axle, which ended up causing me some issues. I unscrewed it and rescrewed it further away from the axle. Turns out the issue that I had was that the robot continually overcorrected, and so just by switching the sensors to be further away from the wheels, changed a little code, and it worked perfectly. You can see in this video here, you can
Wow,
hear my
that's
wife
working
cheering me
really
on,
good.
and yeah, she's
That's a big
awesome.
improvement from
So
the last.
speaking of code, there's nothing too special going on here. Probably the coolest thing I thought could happen is that I had a single function to configure the PWM that ran the motors. And when I wanted to change speeds or cause it to turn, I just altered the duty cycle for one motor, and I didn't have to have two separate functions doing different things. Another cool thing that I thought, or I guess is not so much cool as it was an issue I had to resolve, was that the motors had different duty cycles that they ran on to get the same speed. So I had to test, uh, run it, take it back to the computer, change the code, and figure out exactly what the difference was between these two motors. Probably a big hindrance that I ran into as well was I had the code already within my robot to run the ball collection, but I could not for the life of me get the op amp to work with the IR sensor. I couldn't get it to a threshold where the robot would be able to, or the pick would be able to pick up the difference between the voltages. So thankfully, the night before I had gotten it running fast enough to be able to clear the time. So I basically just changed gears and focused specifically on that when I realized I didn't have the time to figure it out anymore. So yeah, overall, I think the best thing I learned was don't try to make a robot the night before. I had been trying so hard, but it did not go the way that I planned for any of it actually. But I was able to build this robot, and I'm super happy with how it came out and everything I was able to learn from working with the pick, learning how motors work and getting the sensors to function and having everything interact perfectly. It was pretty cool.